Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm still George.
And George, we just finished talking about Batman. Now we're going to talk about Batman some more.
This is where we all do our Batman impressions.
But I'm not wearing hockey pads.
That's probably the best one.
I gotta get more fry in my voice.
I really hope
Wait,
that the
you
new
sound
Bat
like a
voice
frog.
isn't like that.
He sounds like Louis Armstrong.
I see skies are blue, clouds are white. Do swear to me as Louis Armstrong. Swear to me.
Holy
Oh my
moly.
God.
Has anybody heard the Bat voice from The Batman coming out next month?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Okay, because I haven't heard it yet. I'm intentionally staying away from all that trailer stuff. So I go in fresh.
He sounds like I would say a cross between his regular voice and what Keaton did.
Okay.
There's
so it'll be
there's
good.
no grovel.
I kind of like the Ben Affleck Bat voice, like as a practical matter, but I'm glad
It's
that they're
too
not going to keep
amplified,
doing
but I hear you. But I don't like the amplification of it. It sounds like he's walking around with a Bluetooth speaker.
Well, that's the point, right? It's a disguise.
know.
Anyway, guys,
Mm.
we're not talking about Ben Affleck. We're talking about The Dark Knight. In our last episode, we went a full hour on the Roman inspiration for that movie, something that is literally nowhere online, and it's stupid that it's not because it's been 14 years and it's there. And I guess now you're all joining me on that journey, so thank you.
And honestly, since my son just read Julius Caesar in high school, it would be a very good idea, just like with Lion King or Romeo and Juliet, if you know the influences of these historical writings in modern pop culture, you can get your kids involved in liking old stories.
Indeed. Although not
Yeah.
too young, because I'm not, my kids aren't watching The Dark Knight
Well,
for
high
a few
school-
more
high school
years.
age.
Because, geez
Yeah.
Louise, they've seen Begins and they've seen Rises, but I'm not letting them watch this movie. It's too darn violent.
Well, they read Julius Caesar in high school. He's a junior or sophomore, so that's old enough to watch.
Oh, yeah, he's perfect
definitely.
age.
Definitely.
But when we watched The Lion King, I was like, oh, this is, I believe, is it King Lear or Macbeth story? Lion King.
I don't know.
Or is it
I
Hamlet?
think it's Macbeth.
I thought it was
Is it Hamlet?
Hamlet. I
All
thought
right,
it
it's
was
it's
Hamlet.
one of the Shakespeare's, but it's like that's a good way to get kids involved in these stuffy stories, these old stories, by showing them pop culture.
Right.
So learning this about Batman adds just another layer to an already perfect movie, and it's a good way to teach kids about history.
It really is a nearly perfect movie.
There's a little things.
It's nearly perfect. I agree. It's nearly.
Just give me a take two of the, you're not doing your job right, and like take it down from like an 11 to like a 7. You know, like,
Yeah.
you're not doing
Yeah.
your job right. You know, just give me that.
Or
And
just
it's a perfect movie.
Just give me Katie Holmes and we'll be fine. But I agree. I'm not sure if she could handle the ending the way it was handled.
No, I agree. Katie Holmes was
She was good at that subtle line
the
delivery.
banter.
The banter.
It was
yeah.
good with Katie Holmes.
The emotional stuff, I don't know what she's capable of.
I don't know.
Because
We'll
Gyllenhaal
never know.
just knocks that death scene out of the park.
Yes.
The rest of the movie, But, yeah. I mean, if you need somebody to be miserable right before they die, Maggie Gyllenhaal, great pick for that role.
Yeah.
Or hire Jake Gyllenhaal. He probably could have nailed it too.
Are they related? Dude, I don't know.
You know
I
who their
mean,
grranfather is?
So many
No.
Gyllenhaals running
Like,
around.
is it
Marlon Brando.
Archie Gyllenhaal? I don't know.
It's Dick Hansley. Oh shit! Callbacks.
So George, did you catch the heat when you were watching Dark Knight this time? Did
Oh,
you see like, oh my
yes.
god, this is
Oh,
totally why I had to
yes.
watch Heat?
Everything is blue.
So much. It's so blue.
Everything is blue.
Frame 1,
The
blue.
whites are blue. The blacks are blue. Dude, there's a lot. Like the smoke in the very, very beginning, there's just smoke billowing, and there's a Batman sign
The
symbol,
Yeah.
and like all the smoke is like, it's like, is that black? No, it's blue.
It's blue.
It's blue.
And then they cut to a building which has reflective windows reflecting the blue sky.
It's blue. Dude, there's so much blue.
There's blue in the clown masks.
It's so
it's-
blue
it-
that
no.
Eiffel 65 actually should have sued them.
It's actually, yeah, it's it's amazing how
But all the
how
shots
similar
and
it
everything,
is to Heat.
even the
visuals.
character interaction, all the they don't know who's this Joker guy. Like just the way they're talking, you totally feel that anger and what's the one guy from Heat that basically ruins everything? The guy who ends up being a serial killer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Swastika
swastika guy. Yeah.
His attitude
Mm-hmm.
was you felt that with these guys, like even though they're all wearing masks, you can tell like all these different personalities and how they're talking to each other, and then you find out about the basically the pirate game situation where they're kind of playing down who's gonna turn on who and all that. Like it's just, I don't know. I love it. I love that opening scene.
Yeah, dude was the dude that was drilling into the safe to like open the safe up.
He's like, "Come on, hurry up!"
No, I love like how he was like turning the dials and shit with his like sneakers on his hands
So
because
good.
they like wired it up with electricity.
Right.
I'm like, dude's resourceful.
Yeah.
Like that's a good idea to do. Like,
It's fun.
but I immediately I always parallel now. Whenever anyone is trying to break open a safe, I always picture what's his name from
Dick Hensley.
no.
No.
The safe guy, the safe guy in the other movie.
The thing.
Hold on, stop. No.
Val Kilmer.
Yes, Val Kilmer. Come on, you guys know what I'm talking
I
about.
know,
yeah,
It's
we do,
Val
but-
Like
Kilmer.
watching you struggle.
It's fun to watch you fail.
I was gonna be, yeah. I'm like Tombstone. Come on,
Right, the
dude.
Tombstone.
Yeah,
The
Batman
Tombstone
Forever.
guy that I love.
One of the worst
Batman
Batman.
Forever, which-
Yeah.
No, he wasn't.
I have never seen Batman Forever, but no, I don't think I ever will because it would.
He was a bad Batman because of Nicole Kidman. That's for that movie.
I like Val Kilmer, and I want to stay that way.
Yeah, don't watch
You should.
Batman Forever. At least don't watch it for the show because I will drill you until you hate it. Like, I will bring
Will
up
you?
every little. Oh my god! Hey,
Let's do it.
could you guys do me a favor? I'm getting a little hungry. Could somebody go get me some drive-through?
I'll get drive-through.
Right.
I mean, guys, just eject
It
the movie,
it's
snap the movie in half,
th-
throw the
that's
movie away.
nowhere near as bad as This Is Why Superman Works Alone. Or what's the other one? Bad Express. Never
Oh,
Leave Home
God.
Without It. Like, come on.
We were watching that movie in
It's
college.
Not the worst Batman.
Batman and Robin, and George Clooney comes sliding down a dinosaur's tail on ice skates or something. I don't remember the full
Yeah, no,
details.
they click their heels and the ice skates come out.
Right before they go back to Kansas. That's right. So he
Yeah.
lands at the bottom of the thing and he goes, "Hey, freeze! I'm Batman."
I'm Batman.
And my buddy goes, "That was the
I'm out."
worst I'm Batman I've ever heard." And I said, "Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the worst, shittiest Batman." And it was
But
true.
who even heard that line when they were not laughing at Schwarzenegger yelling, "What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!" And then he blows fake ice onto the dinosaur that they eventually slide down. Did I
Spoiler alert for Batman and Robin.
bad.
Guys, I
Clip-
am so
clip the
glad
shit
we're
out of the
watching
mic,
The shit
yes.
out
The
of
Dark
that.
Knight and not
Schwarzenegger?
Batman and Robin. So thank
Yeah,
you all for
no.
that.
Hey
Holy
everyone,
moly.
chill. Yeah, no. God, there's so much about that movie.
And I tell you, man, those big bags of money the Joker's flinging around, you have to see the killing in that. I just kept seeing, oh man,
Mm-hmm.
just throw it out the
Yep.
window. You can get it later.
Yep.
Oh,
It's all
yeah.
there. Killing
good.
and heat.
100%. What was the other one we watched?
Julius
Julius
Caesar.
Caesar. We covered all that. We're
is
not
that
going into that.
No,
again.
no. Is that the only 3 that we watched?
Those were the only
Think so.
3 movies we watched
Going
to
into
prepare for
this?
this movie. However, there were more that we kicked around, and we'll probably catch up on a couple of them soon. So
Okay.
we won't necessarily circle back to The Dark Knight, but this won't be the last time you talk about the Joker.
Right.
True. All right, so that was scene 1.
Yeah, if we
Was
do 10
that-
minutes on every scene, we're going to make about a 6-hour episode. So,
Was that even scene 1 though?
no, it's literally the
I-
opening of the movie, the first 8 minutes.
Where did you learn to count? We could have got rid of that. That guy could have just been dead instead.
I mean, what
Yeah.
kind of assumption is that guy making? Because I'm sure there are a lot of different capacities for shotguns. Was he expecting the one, the guy who was the Joker, he didn't know was the Joker, to like identify the model of the shotgun from across the room and know how many.
You forgot to introduce the segment.
Is this Guns, Guns, Guns?
This is Guns, Guns, Guns.
Guns.
I think so.
Guns, Guns. The last couple of times we've introduced the segment, I've interspersed the. I've done a drop, as you say. I put the clip from RoboCop under us saying it, and like the last couple of times, it sounds like we're all did it the other way. It was funny.
Yeah.
It sounds like we overdubbed it because we're just so good at guns.
I don't think he was afraid to shoot any of the patrons in the bank either. He's just like unloading on
No,
everybody.
it was a real Jason Goes to Hell moment where they shoot the bystanders.
Crap. I shoot the bus driver. Wow.
Wait, who did they?
You remember in Jason Goes to Hell, the lady diner waitress shoots
I'm not worried.
the
I'm
patron?
not worried about Jason Goes to Hell. I'm
You
worried
should
about.
be. It's so
I'm worried
good.
about this movie.
It's so good. What?
Did they shoot patrons in this movie?
No, when he starts opening fire in the bank,
Uh-huh.
I said he, meaning the bank teller, the guy who run from
William Fichtner.
Fichtner.
Yeah.
Fichtner.
The guy from Black Hawk
starts
Down
walking towards
and Heat.
the clowns and starts shooting at them
Wait,
with
he's
the
from Heat?
shotgun. Yeah, he's the same character in Heat. He's the same exact character.
Same dude, same character, pretty much.
When he yells, "You don't know who you're stealing from."
You
Right.
and your friends are dead. Yeah, I mean, this is basically, this is them showing their work and being like, yeah, we made Heat, but like the Joker's here.
You and your friends are dead.
You and your friends are dead.
That's how he
Anyway, he
says it.
starts blowing apart bank desks and shit. Like he doesn't care that there's patrons in that.
Okay,
because
I thought
opening fire.
because I thought what you were saying was that the Joker and his team.
No, he cared.
No, yeah, and there was I think it was it was in Heat when they're heisting,
Mhm.
right? They're in mid heist, and
Oh, they go outside.
and De Niro says to all the patrons basically like, just cooperate. We
Right.
don't we don't care about you. Like, we're stealing from the bank. Your money's
You're
insured
right?
by the government. Actually, throwback to what was that movie? It was about a real guy, John Dillinger. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That was from back then. Cuz he went in the bank and the people were like, "Here, take the money." And he's like, "No, I don't want your money. I want the bank's money." That was a Dillinger thing
Okay.
from a way back.
Way back.
But anyways, yeah, that's from Heat,
Mm-hmm.
and I got that same vibe
Nice.
in the bank heist scene.
And the
first scene.
guitar.
And the
Like,
guitar.
The music in
Yeah,
the
it's-
background. The
yeah, they
tension
totally
music.
stole it.
Mhm.
Well, not even the D
Not the
chord being played on the Joker theme, but before you get to that dun dun dun
Yeah.
dun, like all that hard guitar
Mhm.
is in Heat as well. Like just those open sprawling scenes where they're kind of
Right.
driving. It wasn't a drone because it was in the 90s, but the helicopter flight, like all that IMAX before IMAX existed kind
Mhm.
of shot. They had the same kind of music in the background.
Speaking of
Mark.
IMAX, George, how did you watch this movie?
On my television?
Originally,
Did you
you
stream
never
it?
saw it in the theater.
No, I have a DVD.
DVD or Blu-ray?
I'd have to look at it.
Because here's the deal. You should know that. That's important movie knowledge to know what you're watching. But
Okay.
on the Blu-ray
It's not
release of
4K.
this, they had the IMAX scenes still in the full matte 16:9, which isn't quite full matte, but it fills your screen, and it's a
Mhm.
higher density picture. It looks a lot better, and then it goes to a 2:3:5:1 kind of top and bottom bars for most of the movie. Did you have that in your copy?
I don't
Did you
recall.
notice? Oh, man. Anyway, if you have the Blu-ray, it should be like that. I assume the 4K does that too, but I don't remember. I should check on that. But it's amazing because you get to see the disparate quality between an IMAX camera and a standard 35mm, to where at the end of the bank heist scene, the first couple of shots after that seem kind of muddy because your eyes get used to IMAX, like this high resolution, beautiful scan, and then it's like, oh, it's regular again. Eventually your eyes get used to it, but it takes till Batman gets into the bank vault and back out again before it's really like, okay, I've forgotten how good it used to look. Now I'm used to this again.
Mm.
At least for those of us who, pay attention to those things.
Right. Word.
Yeah, I don't think I had.
But my streaming version that I watched this time is all 235:1. And that was kind of a bummer. I missed my IMAX filled frame kind of thing.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think I had that.
I saw it in the theater about 3 times, so I was...
Yeah, this is the only movie I've ever watched multiple times in the theater. I saw it
Mhm.
3 times as well.
It deserved it.
Oh my God.
I think I saw it once in the theater, but I raved about it so hard I sent like 10 more people to the theater to watch it again.
Yeah, right. That reveal, I remember for weeks, actually months, they were doing like all these online leaks of what Ledger was going to look like, and everybody was kind of like, I don't know. Not feeling it. And then as soon as he's revealed, it's like, yeah, that's it. Boom.
Yeah, the stills didn't really do justice.
No.
It didn't sell me
it was
either.
The character.
But they did such a good job with the viral marketing of this movie. I remember at one point there was like a scavenger hunt where you could go in major cities to a coordinate and like go at the right time of day, and you might find like a special thing that would show you something from the movie. Like, they were putting effort into this movie in a way that they haven't since, thanks to streaming.
They did like
and
a
all
fake
that.
website a year before the movie came out where they did like the Harvey Dent campaign.
Oh yeah.
And it was like all interactive, and then you were getting videos from the Anthony Michael Hall character where he was like talking about. There's a lot of like, if you look at the DVD, there's a lot of footage and stuff that they released a year before the movie through newscasts and through podcasts and through, interaction, social media, that there might be things that we didn't catch about these characters that they gave you backstory that makes sense from those reports. Because the Anthony Michael Hall character was kind of like not an Alex Jones type character, but he was constantly reporting on things and giving information, and it kind of filled in blanks.
Now, George, did
Let's
you
see.
recognize the newscaster?
Hmm.
The one who gets
No.
kidnapped and has to read the whole, like, Gotham, Joker's taken over, you've got to
Mhm.
leave, that guy. Do you recognize that guy at all?
No.
Would you recognize him if he was younger and perhaps drunk?
At a blues bar. He don't even have a license, Lisa.
I don't think so.
Oh my God, he's not tracking this, is he?
No
No.
shit, Chet. No shit.
I'm not.
You remember Drunk Gary from
Oh, Gary.
from Weird Science?
Oh, shit.
They make a
Gary.
girl out of a Barbie doll, and she's
Yeah. I remember Weird Science.
the news
but-
guy
Tall or blonde?
is grown up
Gary's
Gary.
taking his shit.
Who
Sorry, I
gets
can
drunk
only
and
throw
like
so
he
many
does
quotes out there.
some like really
Gary!
politically insensitive
No, Ma, I was not jerking off.
yeah, he
Yeah.
does all the jive talk in the bar, which wouldn't fly today.
Oh fuck yes!
That's the
God,
newscaster.
that was
Yeah.
such a good scene.
Knee
Oh.
me in the nuts.
I mean, I love the idea that this might be like a spiritual sequel to Weird
Oh,
Science.
Shit.
Holy crap!
We'd have to talk
Yeah.
to the R&D department over at Wayne Tech to see if they could make us a Barbie lady.
I remember when he got cast, there was a little buzz that he might be playing Edward Nygma. And everybody was kind of excited that he might be playing Edward Nygma, which is the Riddler.
Okay.
But not a Riddler character, but like a cameo as Edward Nygma. So in future movies, he would become the Riddler.
Hmm.
And when he was a newscaster, we're like, wait, what? But that was before we realized, you didn't need the Riddler in this movie.
Right.
But I mean, did you get the Riddler in this movie? Because you kind
we
of
got-
did in a
We got
very.
Mr. E.
You got Mr. Reese. Mr. Reese.
Mr. Reese. Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Reese.
I mean, my nerd brain caught that as, okay, that's as close as we're going to get. Like, enjoy it while we have it, kids, because they're not going to let us
Mm.
have a real Riddler. And they didn't. So I guess it was as
Yeah.
close as we got with this group.
They could have had him in there without really taking up too much real estate with another villain. He could have been like a involved in that whole thing at the end. Turn that into a riddle instead of a Sophie's Choice kind of situation where one's going to blow up the one boat, blow up the other. They could have done that, but they don't need him in this movie, so it doesn't matter. But that sounds like a Riddler type situation where, put a boat full of prisoners and a boat full of citizens, law-abiders, and then make them see which one's going to blow up who. Like, that would have been a Riddler moment if he was in this.
If I was to put the Riddler in this movie, I would have made it that Lau guy.
Okay.
Because him managing to control the money and escape, you could have just given him more of a gimmick, and that would have fit within the confines of this story. I think if you take the Joker out of that last big, the boats, the ferries thing, if you take Joker out of the ferries, can you take the ferries out of Joker? I don't know.
No.
But the thing about the ferries, and maybe let's just talk, because everybody that's listening has seen this movie 10 times, so we don't have to go in order. I have always had a problem with the ferry scene at the end of the movie. At the end of Act 3, I guess.
Why?
Because you have a scenario where the Joker's involved, so there's a good chance that if you try to blow up the other boat, you actually blow up your own boat. So you have that kind of like, will they or won't they accidentally blow themselves up, mixed with some real like of the era moral decisions as to, blood on our hands via the vote versus who's actually pushing the button kind of like discussion going on in the subtext of that scene. But I don't like that there's a midnight deadline because it creates this thing where like, morally, even if you don't push the button, it's still going to happen, but maybe you can save yourself. It frames it in a way that's a little bit too much like Batman jumping off the train at the end of Batman Begins, like, I'm out, bitches, like, I think if you didn't have the deadline and instead you just had ever increasing tension from being on those two ferries, that you could build it as, well, they're moving over there. What are they doing? What are they talking about over there? Are they taking a vote? They're taking a vote. Should we be taking a vote? And let the two boats' actions actually point their tension toward each other and build it that way instead of having just a midnight deadline.
Right.
And then you can still do it the way they did it, where Batman shows up and Joker's like, oh shoot, we're out of time. I'm going to hit this button, right? And nothing changes except that you've taken away this whole like, we're relying on good to save us before the deadline, which it was one bridge too far for me.
So I had an issue with it because the deadline and the whole plan was too much of a plan for the guy with no plan.
Well, all of this is a guy with no plan.
He was relying on, but he was relying too much on having control of the situation, and it was just so planned out for somebody who just relied on the chaotic response and or the chaos of a situation. It just seemed too many things had to happen out of his control for his plan to work.
See, you believed him when he said he wasn't a schemer.
Bingo.
No, I don't believe him. No,
But
I know he had a plan the whole time.
He is a schemer.
He had a plan the whole time, but
he's just an agent of chaos.
Right. His decision
his
to put
schemes are chaotic.
his decision to put that decision in their hands takes the control out of his hands. Like he could have pushed the button at any time, but I don't know. It just seemed like it was too much of a plan. That too many things can go wrong that he didn't have control of. That just didn't play into the rest of the character. Yes, I know when he says I don't have a plan, he completely has a plan. He's been planning it.
I'm just a dog chasing a car.
Every single thing he did was so methodical. So that was just not a throwaway line, but it was him basically playing to Harvey, saying, "Listen, I don't know." Like when he says to Gordon, "I was here."
Yeah.
Who did you leave him with? Like he completely has that condescension, that condescending attitude towards the guy interrogating whatever the situation is, even when he burns the money. Like I'm gonna burn my half, and
Right.
ultimate fuck you. Like he's just, I don't know.
You know what all those things have in common? They're cheap.
They're cheap, yeah. And gasoline. I love when he says that.
And I would argue that not everything burns. So,
Right.
I mean, I take issue with Joker's like premise, but
I was stubborn.
you know, I do love the fact that he totally roasts Lau on top of that money, and they never really acknowledge it besides like some muffled like yelps from the top of the pile. Like that's dark, man. This like I think I said, I can't wait for my kids to watch this movie, but I am waiting to show it to them until they're at least like 13 or 14, because there's some
those
darkness
kind of subtle
in here
things
that
they don't catch. They don't catch a lot of the things that you're worried about.
I'm worried about them catching it. Just any of these things.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
oh,
I hear
hey,
you.
he broke that guy's legs on purpose. Like,
Right.
yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I'm not gonna survive. What does he say? I'm gonna survive this fall. He's like, I'm counting on it. And he's like,
Yeah,
just kind of pushes him.
Yeah, he said,
fall from this height.
wouldn't kill you.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm counting on it, and pushes him.
I mean, guys,
how
that's
about-
an awesome scene, but like, ugh.
Okay, so the
Well, it's no different than Harvey saying flipping the coin on the driver. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a little messed up.
it's different. It's different. Apples and oranges. So how about let's talk about the interrogation scene.
Oh yeah.
Which one? Because there's
The-
multiple interrogations in this
There's
movie.
multiples.
The interrogation scene where
The one.
Batman is interrogating the Joker in
The good cop, bad cop routine.
Yes.
You
Yes.
never start with the victim's head.
that
It's
is
all fuzzy.
so good. He says, because then when the next thing that happens is all the next thing you do is all fuzzy and it doesn't work, and then like he slams his spikes into his hand and he's like, see?
But more than that,
Dude.
he refers to himself as the victim. And so
Right.
he's equating
Yeah.
Batman to the bad guys. Oh,
Yeah.
it's such a good line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a good line.
That scene is I've probably watched that scene about 180 times. Like just it's one of my favorite scenes.
It's pure
It's
Joker.
And it comes from the Killing Joke. I mean, the torture part, not so much, but the setup is very much the finale, spoiler alert for an old comic book, of the Killing Joke. And so aesthetically, my nerd brain was just like, give me this scene. And then there's all the political stuff in it where I'm just like, okay.
You keep
right.
calling it a torture scene. It's really not until he snaps. Like it's a verbal volley of just. It's
The first thing he does is smash his head into the table.
He deserved it.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
The whole point of the scene is that the physical violence is not going to get him the result
Anywhere,
he's
right.
looking for.
You got all these rules.
And the thing is, when this movie came out,
He's lucky there wasn't a pencil in the table.
Yeah, ye old
That's all I got to say.
2008. When this movie came out, there was so much reactionary press, knee-jerk press is what I should say, of this movie endorses the use of torture. And it made me want to scream at the people that just did not. I mean, it's that thing where you show something in a movie and so the movie endorses it, right? It's this fallacy that you can't show horrible things in a movie because if you show them in a movie, your movie endorses these horrible things.
Right, it's dumb.
When obviously the outcome of this scene is that the torture or interrogation, enhanced interrogation, that's what we'll call it. The enhanced interrogation
Yes,
doesn't
yeah,
elicit the results he needs. And in fact, he only gets the information that the Joker was going to give him anyway, and the information was bad.
Right.
I would point to, if you also want to watch George, and maybe we'll watch it for the show someday, Zero Dark 30, which is a real good movie. It had the same reaction in the press where, oh, this movie endorses the use of torture. Spoiler alert, they don't find bin Laden because of torture. They find bin Laden because of legwork from the analysts and their sources within. So it's like, you just want to yell at these reporters, like, stop trying to conflate the presence of content in a movie with an endorsement of that content, because you're doing yourself a disservice and you're doing your audience a disservice. Just do your job. Do, as they say on Ozark in a quote that I always hated on the show, but now I use all the time, do better than you've been doing.
Well, I mean, it goes to show the same thing with Ledger. When he died, they were blaming him being submersive into the character and being completely playing a psychotic and all this stuff. And it's like, he died. The movie was already filmed. Like, he was doing another movie when he died.
Yeah, and wasn't the next movie?
It wasn't the demons of this. He enjoyed doing this. He said many times how much fun he was having. He wasn't depressed. He wasn't going into these deep, dark areas. Like, he was having fun creating this character.
The next movie he did, wasn't it directed by the guy that did 12 Monkeys?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, you know my stance on that. But even Nicholson, though, at the time, and granted, Jack Nicholson, hero of the show, not above, making a spectacle of himself, was like, oh, I warned him. It's like, you didn't warn shit. Like, that was the most obscene thing I'd heard from Nicholson probably ever, is like, stop.
And I doubt he went anywhere darker playing Jack Napier than he did when he played his character in The Shining. What was his last name? Jack
Torrance. Yeah.
I mean, that was a much deeper place to go than playing the Joker. He warned him.
Yeah, I warned him. Okay, yeah, right. Okay.
I mean, it ranks up there with like blaming Marilyn Manson for something. Like, it's just stop.
Unless
There's
you're the
reasons.
Evan Rachel Wood.
No, I'm talking about like for.
I mean, she can blame Marilyn Manson
she can blame
for that.
Marilyn Manson, but I'm talking about like socially when you blame music.
The Columbine thing where it's like, they listened to bad music and played Doom. No. It's like, and they had guns and their parents didn't ever pay attention to them.
Issues you can go after. So you're right. It's like, just because he does physically, bend his arm to try to get his information, it's not the same.
But a policeman would not be allowed to officially do any of those things, right? You cannot beat people and expect them to give you a straight answer, because either they're going to tell you something wrong to get you to stop, or they're just going to tell you whatever you want to hear, and they're going to confirm whatever you're looking for just to make the pain stop. Ew. So I'm glad it's in the movie, but it does feel really 2008. Like, this is the abortion subplot from Godfather Part 2. Where it's
perfect.
Just of a time.
We needed it in the movie.
Yeah.
For the expose, if anything, like, you don't really need all that physical violence, although it does. It's important. To me, it's not political if it's necessary to the story. They're not preachy. They need to show that Batman has a rule, and what is he willing to take that rule to. It's necessary for him to poke the bear and get him to basically lose his cool and beat the shit out of him.
But he could physically intimidate him in an inappropriate for bad cop kind of way without actually having to clobber the guy. Like, you could pull that off, but they chose not to. It's fine.
Well, they do that in the next scene when he's talking to the other guy. He's like, "You want to know which one of your friends are cowards?"
Oh, that scene is so good.
Like that. That's so much more of a psychological.
He just undresses that cop. Like, you can see the cop psychologically just break down and fall into that trap. Oh, it's good.
You want to know why I use knives? Like, savor. When he says the word savor, it's like, oh my God. It's like when Lecter says, a census taker once tried to test me. Like, it's just that word of savor.
Yep.
Was like going.
Yeah.
So good. Let me savor all the detail.
It's a good movie. Turns out. I really like just about everything about this.
But what's funny is that people can watch a movie and go, oh, this was my favorite scene, or this is the best scene. There's like 10 of those scenes in this movie. It's like, you can go from that scene to all the way to the Sophie's Choice at the end.
Well, and even Batman single-handedly fights an entire SWAT team, saves an entire group of hostages, and still has time to stop the Joker. And that's not even the most memorable action scene in a movie. That's crazy.
Now, that scene I do have a problem with.
Ooh, go on.
I never liked the hanging upside down talking scene. Because Bale goes to 11 with his
oh yeah, when he's on his back getting pushed down, he does, the bat voice goes beyond the line of okay, I'm with it, to maybe we don't need that bat voice right now.
Right. But yeah, because we all know who you are. But the other thing is, after the Joker is caught, and he does the speech about the people of Gotham, he's still talking, and he has no nose. His nose is completely covered, so he's very nasal, but he's still talking like this. And it's like, that scene would have been totally better if they had taken that dialogue and putting him into Arkham, and that's where they have that back and forth, where it could be more subtle and more Batmanish, and not that whole screaming to an upside down Joker where they turn the camera so he doesn't look upside down, but he's upside down. Like, it just, to me, I always had a problem with that scene, because it wasn't his Batman talking to the Joker where he's like, we could do this forever kind of thing. Like, that's great dialogue, but it's overshadowed by his, or overpowered by his, like, that raspy kind of animalistic voice. It just didn't fit.
The thing with that scene, though, if you're going for like an unnecessarily gracious reading of it, I think what they're trying to go for is you have kind of sing-songy, friendly-voiced Joker, literally upside down, forming like a yin-yang with a right-side-up, gravelly-voiced, dark Batman. I think they're going for like trying to nail that thing all in one go, and I mean, it kind of works. But you have to get past the practical limitations of the Bat voice, and just the doesn't make sense in real life why is he still hanging upside down and not in cuffs situation. Right. But I think they were going for a thing. Did they achieve it? I don't know. Got me close enough to where I could see it, but like,
because that whole Gordon scene at the end is just perfect.
Oh, with his kid?
Yeah.
He didn't do anything wrong.
He's like, you don't know what it's like to tell the person you love
that part. That
everything's going to be okay. And he's like, go to lie to him. Lie. When he's like, says that second lie, and you just see the tendons in his cheek and everything. I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah,
but, going back to what they're referencing there, when Batman pops into the room with Dent, and Dent's screaming no, and you see the sadness in Rachel's face as she realizes they picked him and not her, and all of that. Through the cape and cowl, Christian Bale does such a good job as Batman to express physically like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he doesn't hesitate long enough that he still has a chance to save one of them. But like that realization that he just got played really comes through, even though he's wearing, 50 pounds of rubber. Yeah. Really good stuff.
Yeah.
So good.
I do love one thing in this movie that I don't think we've got since. If they've done it since, I've forgotten. The white eyes, when he's got his like sonar vision going on, the comic book look. I'm glad it's only in one scene because I think it would tire quickly. But it was nice to see like the Batman we all grew up with in the animated series.
And it's practical.
And it's practical. And there's
like it's explained. They did it in the Batman Forever, but it was like sonar and it looked silly.
Ugh.
But the white eyes was good, definitely.
Now the use of the electronic monitoring and all that in 2008 seemed like a brave new scary world, and nowadays seems like, oh yeah, hey, he's got an Alexa in every house.
Yeah, it's true. We got Alexa from that scene.
Lucius doesn't get down with Alexa.
No. He's such a underrated character.
Yeah.
Like, I remember him from the cartoon. Like, if you ever actually take time and watch all the episodes, he's in a character in the cartoon. So he takes it to like level 11. Like, he just takes it to where it should be, and he's underrated. Just like Alfred's underrated, because there's just so much going on in these movies. You kind of forget those guys, but I mean, Freeman's doing some good shit.
Well, and Michael Caine, my God. He gets his best, I think, acting turn in the next one. But
yeah,
his speech about the tangerine guy and burning down the whole forest to get him, and the real casual way, he's just like, back when I was in Burma with my, it's like, what? They never address whether he was like an SAS commando or whatever they've got him in the comics now, which, I mean, that's pretty cool. It does, sidebar for the Batman character. I love the idea that Alfred is like a retired SAS commando, which is like Delta Force for the Brits. They're the guys who invented Delta Force, essentially. I mean, SAS is the original counter-terror special operations guys. So it's cool to think of him being like, an early one of those guys. But it does start to call into question, like, what was Thomas Wayne actually up to? And then you start that slippery slope to like, was his murder actually a random horrible thing in the chaos of the world, or was it like something he deserved? And then some of the comic books will draw Thomas Wayne as like a pre-Batman type superhero, and it's just like, well, then you take away the agency from Bruce and you make it more a cyclical thing, and it defeats the purpose of the character, in my opinion.
It turns him into Black Panther.
And it's just like, I don't know. I don't like that as much. But I do like the way they handle it in this movie, where it's just like, he's got a past. He ended up doing some pretty cool stuff. But we're not going to go into detail now. But I did bloody tell you. That's a good line. To find humor in that scene doesn't work on paper, But
it's
they
his
pull
delivery.
it off. So good.
Yeah.
And the way he leans in, he's like, I did bloody tell you.
I think actually that's like one of my it's one of my favorite Alfred lines. Both times that it's delivered in the beginning, when when they're going back and forth, and he says, "Well, when the time comes, I know how much you like to say I told you so," and he says, I at that point I probably won't want to, right? And then it gets to that point. And he's like, well, you get to tell me I told you so now. Like, it is what it is. And he says, I don't want to. And then they're walking. But I did bloody tell you.
It's like, so good.
Yeah, he really does like to say I told you so, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's that rapport between those two actors, too. I mean, we saw it in Begins,
very,
too.
very
the
good.
two of them just always played well off each other. So it just fits so well with what they've already established. Even though if you say on paper, we're going to make a joke here, you're like, now? Like, this is not the time for a joke, boys.
Mm-hmm.
But it works.
Yeah, it's like that was right after the Joker interrogation scene of the cop that ends up hanging outside the mayor's office, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he's going to announce that he's Batman.
Yeah.
That scene's ridiculous. I love that scene when he's like, oh, and he's like, goes on, and he like kind of tells him this, and then he's like, look at me.
Oh my God.
And it like totally changes, like,
he goes from
you're like, holy shit,
the primary Joker voice to like something new, where he's just like, ooh.
He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get it out. He's like very playful,
and
then he's like, even it reminded me of Saving Private Ryan, that kind of
yeah.
But he does it in a weird, where he like rubs his face like, and then he just goes boom. He cuts right to that. Look at me, and that's when you're like, oh shit, this guy is off the chain.
He's off his rocker.
Yeah, and he does that a few times in the movie, like when he does the hit me, and then the bike hit me.
Yeah.
But when he goes up to kill him, and the other guy goes to take his mask off and he gets electrocuted.
Oh, and then he makes fun of him.
And he goes, and he like makes fun of him.
Yeah.
So
dark. And then he goes down to kill him, and Gordon puts the gun to the back of his head, and he's like, can I just have a minute? Like, he's like, just let me do this.
Yeah.
He just has so many little things, and I would love to sit and watch him deliver the lines while reading the script and see everything he's doing, because I don't know if it's written that way.
Yeah.
Now, remember, the Dark Knight script did leak during the production of Dark Knight Rises, so theoretically online you could probably find that script and see if you want to compare what's written to what he did.
Mm.
You mentioned the scene with the pencil, George. Have you ever seen
so good.
Invasion USA?
No.
Have you ever heard of Invasion USA?
No.
It is a movie so bad, so low budget. I shouldn't say bad. It's a terrible movie, but this isn't why. It's a movie that is so low budget.
We'll be watching that next week.
They could only afford one assault rifle. And so in the final big fight, Chuck Norris has the assault rifle for a minute, inexplicably puts it down, so that in the next scene, the bad guy can have that same assault rifle. Oh, It's an awful movie. not one we'll ever watch for this show. But there's a scene toward the beginning where a lady is doing a line of coke with a metal straw up her nose, and the bad guy comes in and smacks the back of her head. And so, I mean, when I saw the pencil trick or whatever you call it, I was just like, oh, that's R-rated. Like, this is a PG-13 movie. That is an R-rated moment from a movie I saw a long time ago. But
they get away with it because he's like, ta-da!
Well, and you never see...
He does like a whole joke thing.
You never see the... I mean, this movie just lives on the you don't see it, you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. But man, yikes.
Oh my God, dude. I remember the first time... Everyone remembers their first time that they see the disappearing pencil trick.
Yeah,
right?
That's what she said.
The way that made you feel when that happened. You were like, oh, this is how this movie's going to go. Okay.
We're not doing Heat. We're doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then
they kind of set you up for it because when he's walking in the room, he's like, a ho. Like, you're just like, oh my God, what the hell am I about to watch?
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it really starts out looking like a Dan movie, and then it turns into a Dan movie, but in a different way. But when he refers to the Lao as the TV, when he's like, it's the television over there.
So-called plan.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so good. You know what I liked at the end of that scene when he's basically backing out of the room with his coat open with the like all the grenades on a string. That was so comic booky.
Yeah.
Right? But the way I'm looking at it in real life. It looks like it's in real life, and the dude's just got like a bunch of grenades on the inside of his jacket.
Yeah, it's like pulling out guns, and there's like 9 missiles on each gun, like in the old cartoons.
Yes, it's exactly like that. It's like one grenade would have been fine, but there's like 4 of them.
Right, and then a giant pull here string sign.
Yeah,
but see. Why they get away with that is because just before that, he lays down a playing card. And he's like, and here's my card. Like, it's just like, here's my card. Call me when you want to take things a little more seriously.
Right.
It's like, dude, you're a clown carrying all these grenades.
Tell me when you want to take it seriously. Yeah.
It's so perfectly done. Just like when he does the whole gamble. Like,
yeah.
He just does so many things to where you're like, what the hell am I watching? Because it's funny, it's tense, it's comic booky, but this shit could happen today. Like, you're just all over the place. Just like when he's talking to them and he says, a guy like me, and they say freak, and he just kind of stops and he looks, and he goes, he like does a tick.
Yeah.
And he's like, a guy like, look. And he's just like, fuck you. This, like, he wanted to tell a joke, and then they just took him out of it. So he like does all these things where it's just like, it's so real, but it's a comic book.
Yeah.
But it's just perfect.
I am confident that if we watched a movie with Heath Ledger in it next week and didn't tell George, that he would have no idea that man he just watched be handsome and charming for an hour and a half was the Joker, just like with the Brando thing.
Yeah,
because this performance, I rated up there with Brando and Godfather. You cannot see the actor anymore. This isn't Brad Pitt having a lark with some facial tics or whatever from 12 Monkeys. This is an actor who has become something else in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and it's visual, and it's character. Like it's. When you look at him, it doesn't look like him, but he's doing all those character things too, which take you out of it. So he's unrecognizable, which is just, it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I know what Heath Ledger looks like, and
you probably wouldn't recognize him.
First time I saw this movie, I was like, like Dan said, it's not even the actor anymore. Like, you don't even see Heath Ledger at all.
Mm-mm.
It's just the Joker. So good.
So good. And the other line in that scene is when he says, how much do you want? And he's like, half. And they say, you're crazy. And he's like,
I'm
no,
not.
I'm not.
I'm not.
like, I'm not. Like, he's just so fucking pissed off at them. And he's not crazy. He's like methodical. He's
He
like,
is.
I mean, he's a little
crazy,
crazy.
but he's not. In his mind, he's not. I'm normal as
He's
shit.
not willing to accept that he is. But
Not.
Now, George, are you familiar with Tom Waits?
Tom Waits.
I sent you a link just now to a song from Tom Waits. We'll have to cut this out so we don't get copyright strikes. But the first one I sent you is a song called Old 55. It was made famous by the Eagles, but he's the one that wrote it. Check that out real quick. Just get a vibe for why I'm bringing this up in the middle of a Batman show. This album, by the way, is one of my favorite albums. Closing Time. Pick it up blind. Listen to it. Nobody buys music. Stream it blind. It's so good. When he comes out, he's a songwriter that is releasing albums that other musicians are taking his music and covering it, and he's making money on publishing. I don't know what happens to Tom Waits. I've never asked him. But he begins being more performative. I would say the next one I'm going to send you actually goes back to something you guys were talking about earlier with the Louis Armstrong voice. My wife, by the way, hates to listen to this next one, and I just can't get enough of it. So I'm interested to see which side of the fence she'll come down on. Tom Troubert's Blues. This is a live recording off YouTube. Again, we'll cut it out for the show.
Is that Rolf from the Muppets?
Well, he starts singing almost like Louis Armstrong style.
Yeah.
Okay, now that you're through the initial shock of it, listen to him singing like this and see if you can see past it to the beauty, because it really is. If you can see past the goofiness of him doing a Louis Armstrong impression, the acting. What I would say is he's no longer a singer; he's now an actor. So give it a little bit of a look and see what you think.
Sounds like a Muppet.
What you've got is a really interesting case of a guy trying to be like a one-man Broadway show in a concert form. It's very edgy. It's not for everybody. It's the kind of stuff that even my music-inclined children, if I put on that one, get up and find an excuse to leave the room. They're just not buying it yet. And I don't blame them because it's pretty freaking weird. When I first met Tom Waits in college, a professor played us this song. Now, I'm sending you the video where they've mashed it up with the visual of Cookie Monster singing it. But
oh my God.
Imagine me as a 19-year-old kind of pretentious a-hole college student, and without any context, this is the song he introduces me to Tom Waits with. It took me a long time to come around and give Tom Waits a second shot.
Right.
This song's called God's Away on Business.
George is giving me why am I watching this look? Is that the Cookie Monster doing this?
It is. That is actually Tom Waits' voice, just superimposed on a video of the... Okay, go ahead and stop that one. I mean, here's the thing. There's a leak in the boiler room, and God's away on business, right? It's good lyrics. It's a good song. But man, to get from Old 55 and Closing Time Tom Waits, jazzy and kind of sensual Tom Waits, to this, it's a big jump. But that's for another podcast. George, why did I just make you watch Tom Waits singing like Cookie Monster?
Because you're going to compare it to Christian Bale's voice.
No. But I do like the idea of Tom Waits doing the bat voice. Honestly, I like that. Jump up to the first link I sent you earlier, the interview.
I have it set up. I'll play it.
Okay, so this is an interview, and I'll actually splice some of this into the show here so that you guys can hear it without having to seek it out. This is from 1979. It's from an Australian TV show, which I think is interesting. Go ahead and roll that clip. Started at 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
You all right?
Yeah, it's just fine, thank you.
I just want to check until you're settled in, that's all.
All right, let me get comfortable here.
Okay. How long... Nice shot. Here it is. It's okay. Story might... We all miss once in a while. How long have you been here in Australia now?
I got here last night. I was on a plane from Paris for about 22 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fascinating flight. And
what do you do for 22 hours on a flight? You have ways of entertaining yourself?
well, they show movies that are not a big success anywhere else. They put them on the planes.
You want these? This is what you're looking for?
Thank you.
I would do that for you. It's a part of the host that's supposed to light the guest cigarette and stuff. I do that, but you look like a man that can handle that all by yourself.
Yeah,
We got an ashtray yet?
it's all right.
Yeah. Did you put the burnt match in it? How long have you been... How long have you been singing?
Pardon me?
I said, how long...
Let's get real comfortable.
Okay, I'll get right here with you. I'm all right. Don't worry, I ain't going nowhere. I'm going to do this interview with you. That's it. Thank you. There you go.
Well, you got people working for you and everything.
That's right.
He's funny as hell too. Like Tom Waits is a hilarious interview. So George, why did we make you listen to an interview with Tom Waits from the late 70s?
I don't know.
Not a bit. Not a clue?
He was sleeping.
No. I mean, at first I said Christian Bale's voice, but now I'm thinking he sounds more like Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing. This isn't unique to our show. This was a widely discussed thing years ago. Somebody found this interview from Australian TV where Heath Ledger's Australian, so who knows if it's just coincidence or happy accident or whatever. But yeah, there's definitely some, Joker in his delivery.
I think it did finally come out that he was very candid about that information. Like he did say that he did study Tom Waits.
I would love to see it in. I've never seen it in a quote attributed to Ledger, and he died.
I don't know if they
before
found
we
it
ever
in
got
his journal. That he kept a journal when he was doing whenever he does a character study, he does character breakdown and basically like a scrapbook of stuff. And I think they did find that he was drawing some inspiration from Tom Waits. I'm not sure about that, but I'm almost positive that was something that was found in the journal.
But it is interesting when he switches voices with the cop dressed up as the vigilante Batman guy. I mean, he goes from, that Tom Waits to the other Tom Waits pretty hard. Just happens that it kind of overlaps with the Batman voice, but I don't know. It's always interesting to hear where these guys get their inspiration. When you have a character that has such a specific voice, usually what I hear is actors say, oh, I grew up with a guy, or I had an uncle that talked like that, and so I adopted it, made it my own, and that's how the character comes out.
Mike Myers. Mike Myers.
Mike Myers, yeah. And we'll get to probably talking about where Bane's voice might come from, or where it actually comes from, which is an interesting, I don't know that I feel as attached to one theory or the other. This works for me because it does, the mannerisms are there too. If you watch the video, like he's got the whole like
the fidgety,
it's
unfocused.
Yeah, it's
all there.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's all interesting, and it comes from a guy who was basically like Bob Dylan on a jazz piano, who started being more Broadway for some reason. Tom Waits is cool. Check him out.
There's definitely a character there. Like if I were doing some character research and I heard this interview, I would be like, "Oh yeah, that's the voice. I'm gonna play with that
100%,
because that you get that cadence, but you're also getting the fidgety. Because you can watch in the movie, he does that. He goes through his pockets a lot. He does a lot of the fidgeting and stuff. So he definitely was inspired by it.
Yeah,
we'll ask JC later if he saw it later. But
it's a shame. I mean, it's a shame because he died, and it's horrible for his family. But I still would love to know, and I wish they would just, the thing about Christopher Nolan, he doesn't do deleted scenes, and he doesn't do a lot of like
behind the scenes.
Yeah, he's not very like open. And so I'd love to know, just have them come out and say, if we have Ledger, here is our sequel to The Dark Knight, and here's what we would have done. But they're never going to give us that. We're just going to have to piece it together from rumor and innuendo.
Sucks. That was my other thing where like they could have maybe had some extra footage or something, they could have done something in the third movie just to tie them both together. It just seems I know they do like a time jump, but it just doesn't seem right.
Maybe in the Flash movie we'll get a jump into the Nolan verse for a second. I hope not.
I hope not. We might see Clooney though.
George, we've talked a lot about The Dark Knight past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Is it still your favorite movie?
It never was my favorite
Yeah.
movie.
It
Your
should
favorite
be.
superhero movie? It should be. It's no Road to Perdition, but it's good. It's
Yeah,
no
too many
American
people
Beauty.
survive at the end. This isn't a George movie.
Yeah. Favorite superhero movie
Well, you haven't seen them all, so
that I've seen. Yeah, this is definitely the best superhero movie.
we'll have to see how you handle Watchmen.
Oh, yeah. And we should probably watch
Yeah,
that.
we should watch Watchmen.
But who watches
Mm.
Watchmen?
And Kick-Ass.
Oh, and Kick-Ass. Yeah. Oh,
Mm.
I might be due to watch
And
both those
V
movies.
V for Vendetta. Did you ever see that? That's a good
Oh,
superhero
hell
movie.
yeah.
I have seen that. Yeah.
That seems like a George movie.
Oh, yeah.
You kidding me? Yeah. Hell yeah.
Hells to the yeah.
Oh, my God. Hey, what are we watching
Doing-
next week, man?
We're going to watch Invasion USA.
Yes.
No.
There's one gun and they have to take turns with it.
No, I guess we're going to have to close this puppy out and watch the Rises.
You mean we're going to watch my Hollywood debut?
Your Hollywood debut. You can
Yes.
pause it and let us know where you're at.
Yeah. Watch
Starring
it on a
my,
big
My
screen.
Steelers. Starring Dan and
Yeah.
My Steelers.
If you want to see Dan pull his bandana mask up in the middle of a giant crowd right as Heinz Ward is about to receive the kickoff, make sure
Nice.
that you watch on a big enough screen because I'm little bitty.
Yeah, get it in 4K for sure.
4K.
I'm waiting for the 8K release. I think you'll be able to really make out my face because in 4K you can tell it's me, but like, you know, it looks at best it looks like fuzzy like convenience store surveillance footage. Like there's some plausible deniability, but in 8K you'll be able to see my pretty face.
Nice.
So in other words, I'm not going to be able to see you.
Probably not.
Probably not.
No.
But I mean, I can show you where I am in the frame, and I can show you which collection of pixels is me.
Nice.
Okay.
Hey, at least you're a Hollywood pixel.
There you go. Get me an IMDb page.
That would be funny to see like this little pixelated square as your picture, as your profile.
Thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class podcast. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. We'll be back next week with Christopher Nolan's conclusion to the Dark Knight trilogy, The Dark Knight Rises. I always love it when you get to an IMDb page of somebody who's literally done like one movie and it's a picture of them like murdered in that movie. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, your one claim to fame. It's kind of sad.
I could have had an IMDb page. Coulda. And the show got canceled.
What?
Womp.
Maybe you
What
could
show is
still
that?
have one.
I was scheduled to be on the show Hack, starring David Morris. They filmed
Really?
it in Philly. Yeah, I was going to be a reoccurring police officer
Man.
in the department and out in the
Oh, I
field.
remember that.
It was a good show.
I remember that when you were yeah.
I
Yeah.
got the call. They told me what to bring, what to wear, how to do my hair, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they called me again and said they're switching the schedule. We're filming there and here and here. Be here Thursday. And then it was released that they were canceling the show. So I never got to be on it. Pissed off. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
That and Invincible was the other one that I almost got in. And then I stopped.
It's time to
Oh,
start
God.
again, man. Your kids are getting older. Time to get back
I
at
know, right? I get in shape. Although a friend of mine is on that Easttown, mayor of Easttown. So maybe I'll have to get on that show as an extra.
it. Let them know. You got a show.
We'll see. Pat, hook me up, yo.
Come on, Pat. Hook him up.